As Randy, I'm going to let you kind of guide us. You can pick on if you're ready to pick on whoever's around here. David, Randy will introduce you as we go around, but what we're going to do right now is just kind of Marv, I'm going to allow you. I see you declined to be a panelist, but I'm going to allow you to talk since we know who you are. And when it comes to your turn, if you'd like to just share, why you're here and what you do, just 30 seconds. But as we often do on Fridays, the intention of this part of the agenda is really talk about what we're doing, but we're more than just networking in this particular space. We're actually networking, plus we're trying to learn some things and expand our mind by basically engaging everybody around challenges that we might have, goals that we're seeking to achieve. Like Dawn mentioned, she was looking for some, and her business needs some tutors. She's in tutoring, So fundamentally, we're all trying to provide some bandwidth towards anything that is brought out. So in this part of the agenda, just here's who I am, why I'm here, because we have people that don't know each other here, and then what are you hoping to achieve, not just with this mastermind. What are you working on? What goals do you have, and that we can think about in the process, and then what any kind of challenges that you're experiencing right now. And we tackle those. Today we're going to talk, we have our guest speaker, David Weaver, who Randy will introduce in a minute. And so we'll be thinking about, we've been doing this now for a few weeks, so we'll be thinking about each of our challenges in the context of the things you're going to share, David. So that's kind of so I think from a speaker or a trainer or a coach standpoint, it's a little more inspiring to me when I consider that people are going to try and do something with what I'm going to share. So Randy, go ahead and take over and kind of go around the horn here, and we'll go from there.
I'll just start off so you know who I am. Those of you who are new, my name is Randy Sablik. I've spent my entire career as a corporate
Can't hear.
executive.
Randy, you're a little quiet.
How about if I put the microphone behind down by my mouth? How's that?
There we go. Much
Okay.
better, much better.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Amazing.
So, I've been a corporate executive almost my entire life, turning around and fixing businesses, and I've now retired, and I consult pro bono, and I just offer my services to help people take a look at their business, what their business is, what their business isn't, what they want it to be, and together we explore ways to find ways to solve those problems, grow their businesses, and get where they want to be. So that's me. That's how I can help you guys. So let's see, Hyatt, I haven't met you before. You want to give us a quick 30 seconds?
I'm Hyatt Ives. My company is hyattives.com. I am a business-to-business marketing communicator. I have 2 books to my credit. One is That Ain't Not Right, the Use and Abuse of the English Language. The second one is 88 Successful Event Strategies. And my area of expertise is in business-to-business communications and business-to-business trade show marketing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome to the group.
And how did you find out about us, Hyatt? What was your?
I wish I knew. It popped up on my screen this morning, and I had some open time, and I didn't even I don't recognize any of the names. The trade show guy, the gods that control this kind of thing just said it's your place to be.
So it's a divine appointment. So where are you physically located, Hyatt?
Houston, Texas.
Okay, so you're close. You're close. We're in Dallas. Well, I'm in Dallas.
Yeah.
Actually, our speaker is coming to us from Washington State, and
I was just on the phone with somebody in Arizona. I've done stuff with a lady down in New Zealand, so I've got an international outreach, and it's fun.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah, and Mary Hikes, who's new to our this event, as well as in the Tucson area, I think is what I
Correct.
gathered. So we're beyond this geographic area, and that's part of why we're continuing to do this on Zoom.
Right.
So okay, so Randy, so
Ja-
we got
Jason, you got your mic open. How about you give us a quick 30?
Oh, sure, yeah. So my name is Jason Madden. I own a company named MadLogic. I help businesses kind of find ways to optimize their day and their internal processes through automation, and also bringing together data in ways that you wouldn't normally be able to through API integration. So very kind of technical, low level, but I just kind of help people with technology. So
Awesome. Awesome. Good mix. Good mix. So you'll see, I think, like Hyatt, for you, somebody who's new, you'll see we have a great mix of individual businesses who are, offering services to people, selling products and things like that. And then you have people like myself and Jason, who their business is to help other companies achieve their ultimate objectives. So, Alan, you got your mic open. How about you give us a quick?
Okay, good. Well, good morning, everybody. Alan Diamond. I have a financial services business representing New York Life, and I just enjoy helping people put their finances back together, and in certain cases, get things
Great.
off to a kickstart and prepare for later on in life and eventually retirement.
Alan's a good guy to talk to sometime, hopefully before you really need to, because then you're thinking about the future, and that's what Alan likes to do, is help people get ready for the future. Speaking of the future, how about Michael? You're a future guy.
I'm future and present,
I was
because
gonna say
I
he's here and now.
do.
Our health is our journey, right?
Yes. So I do medical insurance, and one of the good things that's going on right now in my business is we all know that President Biden was one of the co-founders of Obamacare, and we knew he was going to probably put more money into it. That has come to fruition. We have two major carriers getting back into the individual major medical insurance game.
Wow.
United Healthcare and Aetna are getting back into the game. And from what I hear, United Healthcare is going to provide 80% of their clients with $10 premiums or less based on subsidies. So I'd love to have a conversation with anybody looking for individual insurance.
I'm a United Healthcare subscriber. I wonder if it'll help me.
There you go.
Excellent. Excellent. Dawn, would you like to pop in and give us a quick overview?
Hello, Dawn Tilger, Club Z Tutoring. We do tutoring pre-K all the way up to college, even ACT or SAT. And I'm wondering if anyone here uses any kind of contact list software. There were a couple other franchisees that were starting to do that. And of course, I have like some kind of spreadsheet with all that on. But anyway, there's a lot more things to that, and I just wonder, success stories, horror stories, whatever anyone has, I'd like to talk.
Okay, great. Well, my suggestion would be anybody who can help Dawn with contact management software, put your info in the chat and set up a one-on-one, and you guys can get to know each other a little bit better, okay?
Yes, thanks.
Robert, can you give us a short form version of what you do, my friend?
I sure can. I'm a capitalistic pig.
Okay,
Simple.
that's it. Next.
I buy houses, fix them up, and rent them out. I'm starting a community of personalized greenhouses, which has never been done before. And my greenhouse community will be comprised of different areas for different needs. If you have an interest in a community of personalized greenhouses, or you're looking for a new place to live, or have a house you want to sell, come talk to me.
Yeah, great. So Robert's working on both the today, people who want to move into another place or fix up a house, and then the tomorrow, the future of tomorrow, greenhouses where we can grow our own food and our own plants. So that's awesome. Let's see, who did we forget here? Mako. Mako. How about Mako? We'll try that one. You still with us, buddy, or you want to call?
Yeah, good. Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mako. My brother Art and I own a small printing operation out here in East Plano, and we survived the pandemic like many of us did. And we're in a stage now. We're just trying to fine tune our business to get back on an upward trend. And luckily, we're on that trend right now. And I'm here because I enjoyed the stories of inspiration, as well as picking up little pearls of wisdom from everybody that we can incorporate in our processes here at Bullet Graphics. But it's good to see everybody. Good afternoon.
Excellent. Great. Mako's had a couple of great stories, and I don't mean made up stories. I mean stories of actual experience that can help each of us work through the day. Todd Brewster, you got a couple of words for us today? Haven't seen you in a while.
I know. I've been hiding out. Yeah, no, I'm a life insurance buyer. I guess what I'd like this group to do would be refer me to any small businesses that you know. Would be great. Would be like a partnership, and then I would go in there and explain to them about buy-sell agreements and how they can use life insurance to grow their business, increase their business, and of course protect the business, especially if something happens to them or someone in their family, and also for the employees. So
Great.
I'm Todd Brewster. I'm a life insurance buyer.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate that. Jason, did I get you yet, or?
Yeah, you got it.
I did. Okay, great. All right.
Yep.
Who did I miss? Marv, are you available to chat?
Hi. Yes.
No, that's Mari.
hi,
Okay, go ahead, Mari. Go ahead, Mari. You go first.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, I just found this group on Meetup, and I had a real estate business for 25 years. And I moved recently to Tucson from California. And I'm actually exploring possibilities of what I can do next. So
Awesome.
I'm here as an explorer, I guess you could call. I've always owned my own business, so it's difficult to go out, and I do have a couple of offers on the
Good.
table currently, but I just can't see myself to do anything but what I'm doing. So I'm wanting to learn from all of you. Thank
Well,
you for
great.
being here, and thank
Well,
you for having me.
Nice to have you, Mari. And if there's anything that you need, of course, you can, if questions or contact info, you can put it in the chat. And if you've got a specific question, put it in the chat and see if somebody can follow up with you. David, how about you? You haven't said much today. Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Marv's computer's not cooperating, so
Yeah, that's what I thought. He didn't respond, so.
He's good. I think he can hear us, but he's not able to talk, so that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm known as the Vision Warrior. Actually, Mari, I'd love to have a one-to-one. I just posted in the chat. I'm always available for one-to-ones. We can do them, obviously, in your case, via Zoom. I'm also totally cool with meeting for coffee or whatever that might look like. My whole life purpose at this juncture is changing the world one dream at a time. So I'm always on with people who have a vision, help them kind of rediscover, why they're on the planet, the unique value they provide, and if anything were possible, what would their ideal day look like. I live my ideal day. I've been retired for 16 years and have lived a version of my ideal day for the last 16 years. And by the way, you all in this meeting are all part of my ideal day.
Awesome.
So I love doing that. I also love building community. So you guys are contributing to my passions more ways than you really know. So thank you for being here. And as I said, if you're online in the chat, my link to book a one-to-one, and it bounces up against my calendar. So you're welcome to do that. And so with that, did we get everybody? I think
we did, David.
Okay, well, that's perfect because we're right on time, or maybe even a little. I want to make sure we have ample amount of time for David, just so people understand. This is one of 3 meetings we have each week in Richardson Plano Networkers. I'll tell you this now, as rather than trying to cram it at the end. We meet on Wednesdays. We have a hybrid in-person and Zoom meeting that we're running around close to 30 to 40 on Wednesdays. On Mondays we have a mixer format, which you're probably familiar with if you're doing any networking where we eat and drink, and it's more casual from like 6:30 to 8:30. That's not on Zoom, by the way. And then this Friday session is what we call a mastermind, and we bring in people who can add some content and thoughts to our group. And the intention really here is for all of us to kind of go on the journey together. And in Napoleon Hill's concept of mastermind, which if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, go read that. You can kind of understand what we're trying to do here. We as entrepreneurs and small business owners, we tend to kind of get in our own head and need to expand our mind, and that's really what we're striving to do in this group. So with that, Randy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to mute everybody else. And so what that means is everybody but me gets muted. And so Randy, you and David, please open your mics, and everybody else you can stay on camera, off camera, whichever you choose. And but we will be focusing in on the speaker, so I would encourage you to put it in speaker mode for this part of the
great. And just
I muted you.
Yep, that's okay. I'm unmuted. If you think of questions during David's speech today, feel free to use the chat, put your question in the chat, and then hopefully we can get to it before the end of the day. Okay? All right, well, let's move on. So today's talk is entitled 7 Keys to Eliminate Chronic Stress and Burnout. Wouldn't we all like to do that? Stress impacts every entrepreneur, business owner, or any warrior on the planet. During this mastermind, participants will learn 7 keys to eliminating chronic stress, to regain your energy, your motivation, and ultimately your fulfillment. We'll discuss important principles that will teach us how to dramatically reduce stress and walk away with daily actions that we can immediately use in our journey. David Weaver is a husband, a dad, a coach, an adventurer. Hope he talks a little about that. With over 15 years of coaching and training individuals, small groups, and companies. He owned and ran a health and fitness studio, helping people improve their health and lives. Today, he helps business owners and warriors from all walks of life to create a business and life that they love. Please join with me in welcoming our speaker today, David Weaver.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. I'm excited to be here with all of you today. So let's see. I would love for this to be interactive too. So if you have, I'm going to ask some questions right up front. So feel free to just unmute yourself and chime right in. And then yeah, let's have this be a conversation and not just me talking at you. That sound good? Right on. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see, where is it? Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Got it. All right, can everybody see that? Perfect. Trying to move my thing so I can see you. I'm like looking, your faces are all off on the side. All right, well, it's fine, figure it out. All right, so let's jump right into it. So what are 1 or 2 things that cause you stress on a daily or weekly basis?
Oh, you want us to answer in this?
Yeah,
in this
just
world,
chime right in.
This world, anything that has to do with the news is causing stress, because that's why I don't subscribe to it very often anymore, because it's the external things that we encounter that if we get too immersed in those distractions, I have ADD, so for me, those types of distractions can take me off track. So it gets and stresses me out.
Got it.
Lack of business.
Got it. Let's get one more.
Money.
Money. Yeah. For sure. Okay. So, and what is a way that that typically manifests and affects you?
Headaches.
Headaches.
Yeah,
Makes you edgy.
yeah, a little irritable, anxious at times.
Would say sleep and focus.
Yeah, sometimes it just kind of almost paralyzes you in terms of you can't move forward. You just focus on that and you can't get over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Procrastination.
Mm.
Creates pressure on relationships for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Great. So then why do you think we get to this place of where, you know, like stress is one thing where we have a stressor happens in the day, but this place where we're feeling burned out? Anybody have any thoughts on why we get burned out?
We get depressed, and then we just don't want to do anything.
I would say I have several clients that would have basically defined themselves as being burned out. And part of it is that they've lost what I would call, or what they would call, the light at the end of the tunnel. Gets so consumed by whatever the particular, because life is about challenge and support. So if all you're seeing is the challenge, and you don't really realize that there is support ahead, that the road's going to get less bumpy, and you need to focus forward. So they lose either focus in the rearview mirror, or so focused on the moment and whatever their pain they're experiencing that looking forward is what they miss. So that light at the end of the tunnel causes not seeing that, not knowing where that's there, and not knowing you're on a upward path or a path of improvement, and it can burn you out substantially.
Yeah,
You
for
can
sure.
see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
I would say not enough downtime too. Just like trying to push too hard all the time.
You know, you make bad decisions when you're burnt out and stressed.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem that I think we all have, is when we're under pressure, we make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, even basic decisions like, one of my clients has doesn't eat right when they're feeling burnt out or stressed. I mean, they're so consumed by, okay, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, and fundamentally, this isn't that hard. But my advice is, you got to take care of you first. Just like I just flew from Chicago, and they tell you every time on the plane, right, put your mask on before you start trying to help other people. And it's the same thing with doing your work. It's never going to be your best work if you're burnt out and you're not making those good decisions, like Robbie D said.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Awesome. So thank you for those answers. Let's jump right into it now. So I think, David, you and I probably have a fair bit in common, especially with this first thing that I'm going to bring up here, which is talking about your vision. Exactly. So like one of the reasons that we get stressed out or we get burned out, like we just talked about actually, is that we don't have a compelling, expanding vision that gets us excited to wake up in the morning. And oftentimes we create like goals, right? And like, oh, these are my goals, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with making goals. But if you think about like goals, do they feel a little bit obligatory? Like I created this goal out of like, well, this is something that I should do kind of thing, right? And so what I love to ask is a totally different question, which is, what would I love to create? And you see how that's like very different. It feels very different in where it's coming from. And then you can expand that to all these different areas of your life, not just in your business, but like, oh, what would I love to create in my relationships? What would I love to create for my health? Like, asking these questions in all the different areas. And then this, gives us a place that we're going to, like you just said, like having a light at the end of the tunnel so that you have a direction that you're headed and you're not just kind of like, well, I don't know, I'm just kind of doing things. So has anybody ever read the book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying? Okay. So it's an awesome book, and it's by this gal named Bronnie Ware, and she spent what she did was she was with people in the last couple of years of their life before they died, and so she was talking with them and she interviewed them, and the number one regret of the dying, does anybody have a guess?
More time.
Maybe to spend time with people.
Yeah, didn't spend more time with family and loved ones.
Nope. I think that one's in the top 5. Not the number 1 though.
Didn't make enough money.
That's definitely not the one.
Didn't have the impact that they hoped to have.
Here it is. Yeah, close. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. So much of the time we're living under this, whether we're conscious of it or not, most of the time we're not, of like these shoulds, right? Oh, I should be doing this, or these people expect me to do that, so that's what I'm going to do, but it's not actually what we really want. And so getting really honest with ourselves about, what do I really want? What would I love to create? And then I love, when I'm doing this sort of work with clients and even with myself, I really love 6 months as a time frame when we're kind of coming up with these things, because it's not so far away that it's like, oh yeah, we'll get to that. Like that'll happen sometime. But it's enough time that you can actually get a lot accomplished in 6 months. Like a huge amount of cool stuff can happen in 6 months. So that's just a personal thing that I just think 6 months is a great time frame when you're setting up some of these things. And not to say that shorter or longer aren't also valuable. Okay, so the number 2, you probably heard this one before too. What is your why? Why is it important to you? Why would you love to create that? So does anybody have something that they're creating right now that they're like, yeah, I know what this thing is?
I'm working on my greenhouse communities, which is something that's never been done before, creating a community of personalized greenhouses where people can come grow flowers, fruits, creating pure foods for people, creating a new entertainment district where gardening is what's attracting people to my community. And I'm creating a new community of like-minded individuals who want to be healthy, who want to contribute, that want pure food, that want to get away from computers and have a family activity.
Yeah, I love it. I love the idea. And so can I keep asking you a couple more questions?
Sure.
Awesome. So why is that important to you?
I want to feed the world one greenhouse at a time. I want to create something that is a new form of entertainment, that where people can be together sharing ideas with a common goal of food, bringing people together in this community. It's, on a Saturday afternoon, what do you do with your family? Well, you can go to your greenhouse. All these people living in apartments have no place to go. I'm giving them a little piece of outside. I really want to help the world and create something that's never been done before that actually is going to help people.
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask you again, because this is part of the thing. Why is that important to you?
Let me put it in a nutshell. I died, came back to life, and I have a mission to do something. And this is my way of trying to give back to the world, because I was meant to do something.
Yeah.
And that's also motivating me is I was put back on this planet for a reason. I need to do something to help everybody.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. So thank you for sharing, Robert. That's exactly the thing right there. You can just tell from talking to you, and I would say you're not motivated, you're inspired.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big difference there. You're inspired. And so this really digging in, and like sometimes I keep asking that question multiple times until we finally get to the actual thing. But if you can do that with yourself, you can do it with somebody else. But when you really get into that why and you really connect to that, then that makes a huge difference on your motivation and your energy. Because the main reason why we don't have energy or motivation is because we don't have a vision that's exciting, and we're not connected to why that's important to us. Because I can tell you, like, as being a health and fitness expert, you can do all the health stuff. It's important. It will make your energy better, but nothing will give you more energy and inspiration than that compelling vision and connection to your why.
David, do you see purpose as part of that same equation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's another, you could put those both into purpose, I think. Yeah. Cool. Let's see. Awesome. So let's jump to number 3, which is values. So what is truly important to you? And are you living in congruence with that? And I think there's a bunch of different types of values. I think it's Patrick Lencioni. He talks about it in a couple of his books. He's got like these, he delineates them out, and I really like it because it's like, okay, well, we have these core values that are aspirational, and we have permission to play values, and then we have core values. And so permission to play values are like honesty, being kind, right? Like they're like, yeah, be a good human, of course. But these aren't really like our core values. But what I find is that people often are using aspirational values as their core values. And so the difference is, at least for me, a core value is something that's already there. These are things that like you can look at and we can dig into, and we can see what your core values are in your life. And every time that we're doing stuff that doesn't line up with those, sucking away some of our energy, right? Stressing us out. And so getting really clear about like what are actually my core values and not those aspirational ones. Like I was talking to a client last month, and she's like, yeah, I was like, have you done your core values before? She's like, yeah, I've done it, but I never really stick to them. Like, okay, so that's how you know they're not your core values, because you don't stick to core values. They're there. And so just uncovering those and getting really clear about it. And again, not like what you think other people should say your core values are, but what you actually have there as your core value. So does anybody have, like, do you know like one of them, and you can just share one core value that you have?
Integrity. Integrity is core to everything that I do. It's core to this community. It's basically personal integrity, being a man of my word, and and knowing that, but also that's kind of this community. That's what I often say. We don't worry about the people that we have a very nominal $2 a week if you attend a meeting during the week kind of thing, and we don't keep track of it because it's such a high integrity group. Somebody that's not in integrity will not be here. So yeah, integrity is one of the values. I could go on, but I don't want to be the only one talking.
I'll add to that one, belief in a higher power for me personally, and to me it's a milestone, it's a measurement about everything that I do. If I am not in consonance with my belief in the higher power, then I'm off track.
Awesome. You got one more?
Mine would be serving. Kind of goes with what Randy said. Serving others. That's also one of my cores based on my faith.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing, guys. So I find that this makes it really a lot easier to make decisions. So if you get really clear about what these are, then you can compare it. Like, okay, does this line up when you're going to make a decision? And I can't see everybody's names, but the gal who was talking about, I'm not sure what's next. If you know what your core values are, and when you're deciding what's next, it's much easier to say no to things that don't line up with the things that are your values, right? If you're like considering a new job, and you're like, well, that doesn't actually line up with 3 of these things over here that are important to me, so I'm not going to do that. And then, you know, what can you delegate? What can you say no to? How can you create some boundaries so that you are living within those? One of my top core values is just forward momentum. It's just, I love having forward momentum, and every time that I am making sure that that's happening in my life, then life is pretty good. So I want to share a quick story. Back when I had my gym, I had this client, and she came in and she really wanted to get healthy and lose weight. And this is like the most amazing example of commitment and knowing what her values were that I've ever seen. So she sold her car and bought a bicycle. And so she decided, like, I can't have a car. Like, I need to exercise more. I like want to, you know, take care of myself. So she would ride to and from work every day. And then she would ride to and from my gym 3 times a week. And she would, and imagine, I don't know, you guys are in Texas. So in most of you, in Seattle, in the wintertime, it's horrible. It's like dark and 38 degrees and raining most of the time. A lot of the time. It's just not enjoyable. So imagine what she committed to by doing that. She knew what was so important. She would ride in the rain, then do a hard workout, then go home, like all of these crazy things. But she then lost 100 pounds. She quit drinking. She quit her toxic work environment, like dramatically changed her entire life because she knew what was important to her and she committed to it. And I'm still inspired by her story. It's so cool. All right. So this one, number 4, mindset. Mindset's a buzzword. Everybody talks about it, right? But it is the most important thing that I want to leave you guys with today, is that we, a lot of the time, are running our days with our unconscious mind. And so these patterns that we pick up when we're probably young, a kid, and then that something happens, and then that occurs, and then this pattern, and then that perpetuates itself for a very long time. So the more we can bring our awareness to what's happening unconsciously, the more power we can take over stress and triggers and things that are happening to us. So think about this, for example. If you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, and you know, you get all mad and they're like driving crazy, and you see like, what is wrong with this person? What are they doing? You know, it's stressing you out. You're telling a story about what's happening with that other car. But maybe that person is on the way to the hospital with their wife about to have a baby or something. Like, we really actually have no idea what's going on, but we get to tell the story that's happening in our head. We get to choose every single time. So we can decide to tell a story that makes us stressed out and anxious and, you know, all of the things, or we can choose a different story. So the craziest thing is that stress literally comes only from our thoughts. So we have this. We have life happens to us. We interpret what happens, and then we experience the interpretation. So it doesn't have to be a problem or stressful unless we make it that way. There are plenty of people who have amazing stories, have been in like horrible, horrifying situations and experiences that, I mean, I don't know how I would do it, but they, you know, they come out because how they think about it, they go through it and it was like totally fine. There's this guy who's in a concentration camp, and he was in there, and when he got out of this concentration camp and they were talking to him, they're like, you know, how long have you been in there? And they thought he had only been in there for like a week because he looked so vibrant and healthy and alive, and his whole family had been killed. But he said, you know, I just decided when I got put in here that I was gonna not choose to bring that down for the rest of my life, and just to forgive. And so he looked like he had only been in, and he was in there for like 10 years. Crazy. So the power of our minds, like it's really hard to even explain how powerful our thinking is. And one of my favorite things to reframe things is we can choose that this is in the way, this is tough, this is hard, this is stressful, or we can choose this is on the way. Oh, what if this is actually a gift for me? What is the learning that I can take away from this? And just kind of having this like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh yeah, that didn't go how it was supposed to go. Yeah, of course. Okay, let's make a tweak and try this other thing, right? We get in our own heads so much and we don't have to. We could choose something different. How many of you guys have kids? Just raise your hand. Yeah. So I have two little girls. They're 5 and 8. And the 5-year-old, she is a fire breather. She is a ball of energy. I tell her, I'm like, you have great fire in your belly. And so she would throw these like insane tantrums. Like, I'm not joking. I'm not making this up. She threw a 2.5-hour tantrum where she was yelling, screaming, kicking at me, telling me she hates me because I helped her with her seatbelt in the car. And she wanted to do it herself. That's a lot of willpower in a tiny little human, by the way. But you know, when this first started happening to me, I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with her? I'm like getting so angry with her and like, you know, like what is happening here? But as I started learning about a lot of this stuff and the power to choose, I was able to just decide that this isn't going to be a problem for me, because honestly, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to fix. All she wants is for me to know that I'm there. And she can't actually even get out of that emotional state. Her prefrontal cortex is not developed. She's just like stuck in that emotion and doesn't know how to get out of it. And she's upset. And she just wants somebody to hold her. And that's it. There's nothing to fix. So I chose a different story and eliminated a huge amount of stress in being a parent. So yeah, our minds are powerful, super powerful. All right, so number 5, understanding anxiety and overwhelm. So largely anxiety is caused by not focusing on the present. And we really only ever have the present. Nothing else is guaranteed. The past has already happened and the future is out there in front of us, but we only have right now. So when we get a lot of anxiety, it's typically because we're not focusing on what's going on right now. And we are unconsciously operating from a place of fear instead of a place of love. And I'm going to show you, I'll show you a slide talking more about that in a second. And then overwhelm is similar but different. It's more caused by like trying to hold everything at once. Like if you have this whole plate of food and you're trying to eat the entire plate at the same time, instead of like, oh, I'm going to have a little bite here, one bite at a time, right? It's like the whole thing at once. We're trying to see everything and our brains can't do that very well. So one of the easiest things to do with overwhelm that I found is just do a brain dump. Like just put it all out on paper, get it all out of your head, and then identify, you know, what's actually most important and work on one thing at a time. I think that planning is one of the most powerful weapons we all have. And a lot of people look at planning as restrictive and like, I don't want to plan. I don't want to like put that on my calendar. Then that means I'm like locked into that. And we create it in that way that makes it more like a prison. But we could choose a different story. We can say like, oh, planning is my freedom, because now I'm organized. I know where things are going. I took the time. I cared enough to take the time to plan. That's also like super undervalued, is planning to plan. Like Monday morning, taking 30 minutes to plan out the rest of your week, or Sunday after, whatever it is for you. That is hugely valuable in eliminating a lot of stress, because you know what's going on and you have chosen, hopefully, what goes in there. Not just let it happen to you. Because if we don't fill up our days with high priority actions, they'll automatically fill up with low priority stuff. One of my favorite sayings from Dr. DeMartini. we don't fill up our days with high priority stuff, they'll just automatically fill up with low priority things. And then that zaps our energy. We're not inspired, we're not motivated, easily more reactive, easily more stressed out because we didn't direct it. Okay, number 6. How are we doing? You guys doing good? Right on. Awesome. Number 6, changing your perception to appreciation. Alan, are you saying you're doing good with the hand raise, or did you have a question?
Doing fine.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So we get to decide if we're going to create from fulfillment or for fulfillment. And I know David's gonna be like nodding his head here, like, yes, preach. But what is the problem with creating for fulfillment? Does anybody know? Okay. So if we're creating for fulfillment, is there an end? Mm-mm. We say things like,
well, if you define something as fulfillment, I think the problem is the end, because once you've, quote, achieved fulfillment, then what?
yes, exactly. If you get there, most of the time, but even if you do get there, then it's usually like this. It just keeps moving. Oh, if I just make this much money, then I'll be happy. And then you get there and you're like, oh, but okay, now if I make this much, then I'll be happy. This is like a never ending yardstick that keeps going. And then we never actually like happy now, because we're like, it's always a future based thing. So one of my favorite things to do with people is to go through this process of reframing that and starting from a place of peace. Because if we're creating from a place of peace, that's a different ballgame altogether than creating from a, oh, if I can, then I will place. And so I have a 3-step process that I take people through, and here, this is just an outline. It's usually like a pretty intense hour with a client just to go through like one or two of these things. So, but the first is just identifying all of our limiting beliefs and fears. Like, what are all of these things that we're saying? And the question that I ask people when they're brainstorming this is, who do I fear that I might be? It's not a super fun exercise, but it's worth it. I can't hear you. Hi, are you?
I'm mute. All right. So I fear what I might say that. Rephrase that again, please.
Yeah. Who do I fear that I might be?
Okay.
Yeah. My parents.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we go through the process of forgiveness and forgiving ourselves, and then creating new powerful declarations to replace those. This is one of the most impactful pieces. I absolutely love doing this work with people. Usually, not to scare anybody off, but there's usually tears because it's usually stuff that's like been there for a long time and is pretty deep. So when we can create from fulfillment, from this place of peace, then we're creating from this appreciation, love, abundance mindset versus scarcity, fear, and deficiency. And the crazy thing about that is it starts with loving ourselves enough, right? Because again, if we don't like who we are, then it's really hard to create from fulfillment, because we're always trying to like ourselves more by creating for fulfillment. And interestingly, in business, the more we come from that place, the easier it is to create business, because people can feel our energy. They can completely feel it. And so when we're coming to them to serve them just from a place of love and appreciation and like no attachment to like, oh, I need to have this new client or whatever, right? But this like, I'm going to go serve this person, and whatever is the best for them, that's my intention, and I'm going to do that. So let's do a little appreciation right now. This is powerful. If you guys, if none of you, does anybody have an appreciation practice that they like do weekly or daily?
I actually do it every morning because it actually relieves it's part of my daily meditation and prayer life, if you will. And I actually, it's not a defined set of appreciations, but it's basically becoming mindful of all of the little things in my life as I wake up in the morning, so I don't get in my head and start being anxious about everything that I have to do. I start simple as that I'm awake and that I'm, without any health challenges, and I have 5 children and 6 grandchildren, and I aim at things in my business. So
yeah,
I start my day with a tapping meditation, tapping regimen, and I tap on the meridians, and I choose what I'm tapping for in the morning. It might be for appreciation, for life, for my voice, for I've got a number to choose from, and I spend about 10 or 12 minutes doing that, and then I go for a 1.5-mile walk.
Nice, love it.
In the morning,
go ahead.
In the morning, I have 3 affirmation statements I recite out loud, and then I also have 5 prayers I say every morning on my way to work to start my day off.
Nice. And so how does that impact you guys?
Starts things on the positive.
Yeah. Go ahead, Don.
I was going to say it resets. I do mine at night, and then I'm reset for the next day, and then I'm also in a good spot to go to sleep and calm and focused on happy. But yeah, I just think it resets you.
Yeah, for sure.
I do a gratitude prayer at night, which is a great way to end the day and go into sleep.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a little bit right now. Let's everybody grab your phone, pull out your phone, and think of somebody you want to send some love and appreciation to, either a voice memo or a text message, and send them a message right now. When you're done, if you just kind of look up, I'll know.
I forgot that a friend was going through some chemotherapy today, and I just sent him hope all is going well.
Beautiful. Love it. All right. Awesome. So I think this is like it's so simple, and I'm glad to see that some of you are already doing it. And I think there is power to the different times of the day you're doing it also. And like you said, Don, that does really help with the sleep and waking up the next day, reset. Our brains do crazy things, whatever we do right before bed than when we're sleeping. So there's some cool science behind that. But this is such an easy way to just reset. And maybe you watch the news and you're like, man, it's the Wild West out there right now. This is ridiculous. And it's got you kind of down a little bit, you know, like, first of all, that's okay. Like, it's okay to be sad and upset about things that are going on. Secondly, maybe then is a great time after that to shift back into a better energy, to send out some appreciation, you know, voice memo to whoever, or a text. I like to start my Monday morning before I see any clients or do anything. I write handwritten cards on Monday morning just to start my week. So don't undervalue like a handwritten card or a voice message from somebody. Sometimes you never know how much that could really impact somebody. So this is interesting. There's no separation between giving and receiving. When I give to others, I am also giving to myself. So not only are you showing appreciation to other people, you're also showing self-love at the same time. Okay, the last point for today is create freedom. So this is the thing I'm most excited about, is like, let's create more freedom in our lives, in how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how everything. So freedom from what is currently constraining us? Freedom from shame, guilt, should, have to, right? All of these things are very low on the frequency scale of like our energy, and they're not, I mean, I'm sure you know, they're not fun places to be. And then freedom to create fulfilling relationships, a thriving business, a healthy body, like all of these things. So my action step for you would be to think about just one thing that you'd like to create freedom from, and one thing that you'd like to create freedom to. So the last thing that I'll leave you with is this quote, is you can choose right now to have peace. It is always available to you. And one of my colleagues, he's awesome. He's one of the smartest people that I know. And he says, it's not a problem unless you make it a problem. Because remember that, life happens, you interpret it, you experience the interpretation. This part right here, how you interpret it, you have the power to interpret it however you would like. It's not a problem unless you make it a problem. You know, like with my daughter, I can make her having a tantrum a problem, or I could make it not, just a part of the way things are. So yes, Michael.
So you'll appreciate this, David. So one thing I had to accept, as far as you can choose peace, I had to, and Dave, you'll also appreciate this, I'm also ADD. I had to accept the fact that I have a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a wife. So I had to accept that life is always changing. So I had to accept peace in the change, peace in the turmoil, which is harder to do because most people try to make outside things give them peace. So you have to make sure that you regardless of what chaos is going around you, you maintain that peace inside of you.
Yes, love it. Awesome. Cool. So that's the end of my chat for today. I'd like to open it up with any questions, comments, thoughts, and I have a couple of ways. If you wanted some continued learning, I do have a workbook that has, just like, I would talk to people all the time, and I'm like, okay, what makes you feel alive? And a lot of people I was running into are like, I don't know, actually, I have no idea. And so I created a workbook for that. If that would be useful for you, you can send me an email and I'll send that over to you. Or if you're interested in talking with me about doing some of that forgiveness work together, of course, send me an email as well. But for now, let's open it up. Questions, comments?
Yeah, if you have a question, just go ahead and open your mic, and I can see if your mic is open. David, do you want to go ahead and, unless we need to share the screen, why don't you give me get the whole grid back so we can see everybody. And by the way, anybody that's in the, we have a number of people in the attendees. If you, I'm going to go back through the list if you want to be promoted so we can see you on screen. And if you didn't have a chance to introduce yourself at the end, I'll allow that as well. So I'm going to invite you, if you don't want to be on screen, then I'll allow you to talk. But any questions, just open up your mic. So right now it's just me and David. Anybody, go ahead and unmute. There you go. Dawn?
I just was going to share at church on Sunday that we talked about this exact thing, your perception, and they're talking about and everyone has their perceptions, and it's your reaction to those perceptions. So how you react as far to reset and how to forgive and how to, all the things he was saying, it's just right in line.
Cool. Awesome.
And when you think about people like Desmond Tutu, look at what he went through. 20 plus years in basically solitary confinement, and came out and, did what he did.
Yeah. Any other questions? Or if you don't have any questions, I'd love to hear what was most useful for you. What's a takeaway that you had?
For me, the biggest takeaway was remembering all the points that you're making, because I think over our lifetimes we learn so much, but we forget so much more. And it's really in the way you approach things. Is the glass half full or half empty? How are you thinking about these problems? And we just have to remember that it's our perception. And if you believe something, you're feeling it, it's why. And you kind of just reminding us what we need to do to be happy, because we forget.
Yeah, we do. We forget all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Robert.
I have a question, David.
Go ahead.
First of
Mark.
all, this is Mary. And first of all, this was awesome. Thank you very much. Very clear. On one section, I think it was number 6 under appreciation, the graph of perspective. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on that, please?
Yes. So on the one hand, we can operate from fear and scarcity, or we can operate on the other end from abundance and love and appreciation. So the fear and scarcity is typically a lot of times what just happens automatically because we just let it. It's kind of natural, right? And so let's just use business for example. Let's say, okay, like last month wasn't so good. This month isn't going so great. I really need to make some money and make some new business. And so we're kind of in this we're a little bit afraid. We're in that fear state. And so being able to recognize that and see that we are in that place and being okay with that, but then saying, okay, so like you said at the beginning, I forget who said it, maybe it was David. We tend to make bad decisions when we're operating from there, right? We're like, I need to pay my bills, and so we don't necessarily make decisions in the best interest of the client or whatever we're trying to do. And so, but if we can recognize that and shift our perspective to, okay, well, what if I was operating out of abundance and there was more than enough money and more than enough people to serve out there that I could possibly ever help? What would that person do? And how would that person operate, think, act? And so it's that shift from that mindset of fear and scarcity to abundance and love.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mako, did you have something?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to, my takeaway was, this whole process today was just a reaffirmation again that, we all control the way we react to things and how we address things and the challenges that we meet each and every day. And I go back to thinking when I was young and everything had a chip on my shoulder. I just can remember how much wasted time I spent sometimes when something would affect me, and I'd waste too much time thinking of ways to retaliate and get back at somebody or something instead of moving forward and accepting what happened and try to move forward and stuff. And now I get, hopefully I'm at a more mature state in my life where I can take things in stride and get value out of the situation and move forward with things. So thanks again, David.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, so this reminds me, one thing that you can do, like an action step that you can do this week, is next time you get triggered, like this week, or if you don't get triggered very often, I don't know, next week, write it down and then just treat it with curiosity instead of judgment. So whatever that thing was that triggered you, be like, huh, well, that's interesting. I wonder why I'm getting so upset about this thing that's happening. And start with that, because that's how you transform so much of the day-to-day stress, is when you start to see that stuff and then you recognize, I can choose a different story. And also, why is this thing getting me so upset? Awesome. Anybody else?
Hello there, may I talk?
Yeah.
This is Mohammed. I'm very thankful to being in this group right now. I work for Wafed Bank. I really thankful to be in this group for learning much more about being thankful about our blessing things. And I need to learn everything to grow up in the environment and make my personality better, to being in environment, and I love to learn. Thanks for sharing your knowledge to me.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing. And I would just say, to give you a little bit of coaching love here, you don't need to change your personality. You don't need to be anybody other than who you are.
Sure, thank
Amen.
you. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's give David a hand. You can do it virtually. At this juncture, I'll